Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. You have your host, Alaina, here, and I'm excited to introduce you guys to Dave today. He is just a mind-blowing individual that I've been so blessed to have connected with. And after our conversations, I was like, we got to do a podcast. So, Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would love for you to start out by telling people what got you into business, because I know you weren't always in the business mindset. And I think that that's a big thing when it comes to starting your own business and what it looks like to get out of that corporate chaos. So for myself, I was like, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. And then when I started as an entrepreneur, I was like, oh, okay, this is way better. Like, I don't mind working hard because it's building my own dreams versus somebody else's. So maybe you can tell your story.
Yeah, so my story started about 22. Well, it started longer than that. I did a lot of time in the creative world. So I worked in ad agencies, internal marketing departments, media departments for universities, for banks, all that kind of stuff. And 22 years ago, I just had my 22-year anniversary of being out on my own. I walked into my boss's office and I said, I'm done. And she was like, for the day? And I was like, nope, I'm just done. And that started my entrepreneurial journey. And I guess the term now is rage quit. I was fed up. I was burnt out. I had almost missed my first Father's Day because I was traveling for business, got caught in some weather. Should have been home on Friday. It was now Sunday. Long story, but I almost missed my first Father's Day. I just, it was 9/11. We all were reevaluating our lives. My best friend died at 29. My grandmother died a week later. I was like, life is too short and we should be really living the life we want. And I shouldn't be sleeping at my desk because I missed the train out of Boston. So I decided to go out on my own. I had one client and that started my entrepreneurial journey. And it was a ups and downs in the beginning, and I found that you quickly create a treadmill that's just as big as the one that you left, because you're trying to scale your business. You're trying to get to six figures. You're trying to, the things that all the gurus tell us we're supposed to be doing, right? And so very quickly, I was back to working long hours and not seeing my family. And so then it was like, okay, now I'm going to have work-life balance. And it was, with 2000s, everybody was talking work-life balance. It was post 9/11, everybody was reevaluating what their lives were supposed to look like. And so I went to balance, but then I tanked my revenue. And so I was like, all right, you got to figure out how to do this. And so it was a 22-year journey, did a lot of different versions. Started as a branding firm, got into business consulting, got into short form triaging kind of work with small businesses. And then the pandemic hit and I started doing group work, and I started working with very small solopreneurs. I kind of took under my wing all those small solopreneurs that had left corporate. A lot of them had just started. We all said 2020 is going to be my year, right? And so there was a lot of people in my mastermind that I was running that 2020 was going to be their year. And then they found themselves stuck in their apartment and were supposed to be personal stylists and professional organizers and people that needed to go interact with people and no longer could. Started travel companies, things like that. And we helped them pivot. We helped them look at what they wanted from their businesses. And so, but what I really learned is that most of us didn't balance this life and business and plan them concurrently. And so over the last 4 or 5 years now, I've crafted the concept of what I call the sovereignpreneur. So we have solopreneurs, we have entrepreneurs, but I feel like the sovereignpreneur is the person that is a solopreneur usually, but what they're doing is they're building a business that supports the life they want. And that's really been my focus over the last year, is to create a really strong program that allows people to leave the corporate world, to plan correctly, unlike I did, and to build a business that is going to fit the life and, more importantly, give them the life that they want.
Beautiful. I love that. That was it for me as well. I'm like, what am I doing? I was working 6 days on, 6 days off. So I did only work half the year, right?
Yeah.
But when I was at work, I was seriously like semi-suicidal, like sitting there in a haul truck by myself for 12 hours a day, listening to people bitch on the radio constantly. And I'm like, oh, just like trying to not freak out or have anxiety attacks or just get into super bad depressions because I'm sitting here not living my dream life. And I was like, being a heavy equipment operator is for some people. It is not for me. My husband loves it. I did not enjoy it. And I could not imagine my life today if I was still doing that. I'm like, imagine if I went through the last couple of years of my life, which most of my listeners know what's happened, and I had to go and sit in a haul truck for 12 hours a day and then commute an hour and a half to work each way, right? That was my life. And I'm like, there's got to be more to life than this. Like everyone told me, oh, Alaina, you should go to site. It's going to be awesome. You're going to make all this money. Well, you know what site did? It got me in more debt because I then was making more money and I was spending more money, right? And then I got more debt because then all these companies are like, oh, here, you need a brand new truck, or here's a credit limit increase. And then when I lost my job, I was super reliant on my credit cards to get me into paying my rent on time and being able to afford groceries and stuff like that. And then I was like, I can't believe that I quit my job of 4 years to go work in this place where everyone told me I was going to be super successful, to then get laid off because something happened that was out of my control. And I was like, what? Why would I do that? And stay in a position that my job is so volatile and not fun and a bad work environment and not getting me to where I want to be in my life. So when I went and started my own business, I had a lot of people who were like, what are you doing? You're crazy. No way you're going to be successful doing that. You're a baker, Alaina, because I'm a red seal pastry chef. And then I went into heavy equipment, and then I went into financial side of things. And I was like, I don't know. There's just something about having that freedom to go to yoga and take care of myself and literally like create this life that I've always wanted versus sitting here and doing what someone told me I should do.
Yeah. And a lot of people get stuck in that. There's a great quote. It's people prefer the certainty of misery to the uncertainty of getting out of the misery.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are trapped in these lives that a lot of us didn't even want originally. We followed the model. You learn, you earn, you enjoy. So we learn for X number of years to go to primary school, high school, all that kind of stuff. And then we go off to our job training or our colleges or whatever we do to get the skills. And then we bust our butt for 40 years.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get some vacation time or a little bit of time off. And that, I guess, was the model 50, 60 years ago, where you got the gold watch and whatever. But there is no certainty anymore with being part of the corporate machine. Like look at all the layoffs that are happening in tech right now. Companies that everybody was clamoring to get into, Google and Facebook and all these companies that exploded and grew, but now that certainty isn't there anymore. And so entrepreneurship, it's super uncertain because every day you're hunting what you eat, kind of thing. But the other side of it is you're in control of it and you get to pick how it works, what you're doing, how you're doing it. But even us as entrepreneurs sometimes get caught up in things that we didn't want to get into. I got on a rant a couple of weeks ago on the whole, all the gurus out there, make 6 figures, scale your business, and I said, well, what if I don't need 6 figures? Or what if I need more than 6 figures?
Yeah.
What if I don't want to scale? What if I like the size of my business right now? Like we get in these expectations of outside forces that say, this is what you have to do. And momentum builds. And then all of a sudden we're back on a treadmill that wasn't necessarily us. And we wake up in what I call the Talking Heads moment. So the whole Talking Heads song, Once in a Lifetime. How did I get here? This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. This is not the business I thought I was going to start. I thought I was going to be my own boss and have time. Like whatever your Talking Heads moment is, you wake up and you're like, this isn't exactly what I wanted. And so what I'm trying to do with people is to prevent that, to help them to think about it and plan and understand what they want out of life. Because really the two things you need when you're living the life you want is freedom and money. And the amount of freedom and the amount of money varies from person to person. Now, society tells us we want as much money as possible, but you don't really need as much money as possible. You just need $1 more than the money you need to live the life you want to live. So as we start to really think about it, we need to think about what is the money we need and what is the freedom we need and when do we need it? So in the financial world, it's financial planning, right? It's, when I retire, I need this amount. But we really should be thinking about it throughout our entire life and saying, all right, I need this amount of money and this amount of freedom. And the way you get money in freedom is to trade your time and energy every day. Every day, everybody wakes up with the same thing. They wake up with a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy. And we then turn that into dollars or freedom.
Right.
And
It's
so
so beautiful to just have that opportunity to be like, okay, I'm going to go out today and change my life. So I'm doing a program right now called 75 Hard. And
yep,
I
a bunch
know
of colleagues are doing it too. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not starting it January 1st because I wasn't mentally prepared for it yet, January 1st. But today's a better day, right? Today I can take control of my life and I can go, okay, I'm going to do what it takes for me to be happy, healthy, wealthy, and free, right?
Yep.
Because the freedom side of things and the wealthy side of things are big to me, but not as big as being happy and healthy. That's why I put it that way: happy, healthy, wealthy, free. Because happiness is a key to health, health is a key to wealth, and wealth is a key to freedom.
Yep.
And I think that when we put it into that context, I'm just like, yep, I gotta tell myself every day, this is why I'm doing it. But I'll tell you, yesterday was really hard. I started doing keto as my diet plan because I'm like, I'm sick of having this baby weight on. I don't want it, right? I don't want to feel fat. I don't want to feel like I'm not in my own body. I want to feel good. I want to feel energized. I want to feel healthy. So what am I going to do? 2 workouts a day, gallon of water, progress picture, reading, no alcohol, proper diet. I'm going to do what it takes that I know is proven for me to work because I've done it multiple times. And every single time I've done it, it helps me correct my mindset. It helps me understand what it takes to have freedom in my life and what discipline looks like. And I think that when you can incorporate stuff like this into your life, it really helps you realize what that freedom piece looks like. And for me, I'm like, I want to be able to do this stuff on a daily basis and go for 2 walks a day with my dog or do yoga every day if I choose to. And I just didn't have that lifestyle when I was in the oil sands. It was like, get up at 5 a.m. I'm out the door by 6. And sometimes I'd sleep till 5:30 because I was too tired to get out of bed. And then I'd be literally standing outside in -30 at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Right. And then I'd get home at 9:15 at night, have to walk back to my house. And that was my life. I'm like, that's not lifestyle. Like, that's torture,
Right.
prison, you know?
And the old saying is if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. But I extend that out to say that, if you've crafted your earning stream, and we won't even call it entrepreneurship or career or whatever your earning stream is, if you've crafted it in a way that it's integrating and supporting your life, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
If it's in conflict to the life you want to live, that's when you're miserable getting out of bed every morning. That's when you're not jumping out of bed. I love what I do. I don't consider it work because for me, doing it is fun too. So it isn't even just because a lot of people will go into entrepreneur, like I can make a lot of money with this. Like I met a gentleman on a plane recently and he loves his job, but he's not challenged by it. So he's thinking about opening a restaurant. And he talked about all the freedom. He actually had almost had entrepreneurial freedom with this job he had, right? He travels, he builds up all kinds of points. He flies his girlfriend out on the weekend. They go to museums, they see the town, city he's in. Like he's got a great life, right? And he wants to open a restaurant. I'm like, all of that goes out the window.
Yeah.
You open a restaurant. What are you doing? Why are you thinking about this? He's like, well, I want to challenge. I'm like, all right, that's great. But you then have to know that you're trading off a lot of the things you love now. And the other big thing was he wants to open a certain kind of restaurant. I won't say because I don't want anybody to steal his idea, but a certain restaurant in a certain location because there's not this kind of restaurant, this kind of food there. And he's like, it's a gold mine. And I'm like, but is it your gold mine? Just because it's a good idea, it can make a lot of money, doesn't mean you should do it. Because if it doesn't fit the life you want, you're going to make a lot of money and be really miserable.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, we should be doing things where you put happiness on the top of yours. Everybody should put happiness on the top of theirs.
Yeah. Well, I go back to my days as a pastry chef. Literally, my very first passion. My grandma used to call me Cookie, right?
Mhm.
Like, I was born to be a baker and I did it. Like, went to school, got my red seal, ended up going into the field, got carpal tunnel, had to leave the field. But then I was sitting there in those moments when I was evaluating if I wanted to have the surgery to fix the carpal tunnel syndrome or if I wanted to quit my job. And I was like, this is easy, because I was like, this is not what I was expecting it to be like. I thought it was going to be a lot more fun. I didn't think I was going to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning or work night shift in the middle of nowhere. Like, it wasn't for me. And I was like, I'm literally just giving people diabetes and making them fat. Like, that's not happy, healthy, wealthy, free. Like, also making $18 an hour. I'm like, how do you survive on that for the rest of your life? Right? You don't. But then I was like, okay, well, maybe I could open a diner, or maybe I could open a restaurant or a baker, like a bakery or something like that. And then I looked at what the initial investment would be. And it was about, in Fort McMurray, it was about $500,000. No big deal. This 20-year-old just pulled friggin' $500,000 out of your pocket. I was like, nope. All for what? To hopefully sell some pastry? No, that's a failing business model. So I looked at that and I was like, this is not what I'm trying to accomplish with my life. And I just really had to reevaluate where I was going. And so when I look at happy, healthy, wealthy, free, none of those things were being taken care of with that business model. So I had to reevaluate, and I had to look at outside of corporate or changing careers. And that's when I went into industrial sales. I tried laboring for a while. That place was terrible. I didn't do it very long, but then I went into industrial sales, and that's where I fell in love with saving people money and helping people, and just seeing that there was something better out there for me that was better suited. And then when I left there, I went into the heavy equipment side of things, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give this a go because I needed the money, right? I was chasing money. Well, you know what you learn when you chase money? That it's really not that motivating. It's not. It's fun to make lots of money. I had a guy on my team today make $23,000 in one pay cycle. That's pretty cool. I love that. But yeah, so when you're motivated by money, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to motivate you forever. So for myself, I thought I was money motivated. And then I realized after I got my first $10,000 pay cycle, I was like, that was cool and all, but I'd rather have that freedom. I'd rather have that opportunity to go and see my family. Like when I was in Fort McMurray, I was 24-hour drive away from my family. And now I live in a tiny little town, 20,000 people. Opportunity, yes, because there's no office here. I'm opening my own office, that kind of stuff. Great. However, household income here, very different than it was in Fort McMurray, but everyone's focused on something different. They're focused on lifestyle, right? They're focused on planning for their future, but they're also focused on creating happiness for themselves. And I've had a couple people come up to me and be like, why are you still working right now? Like, why are you working at 7 o'clock at night? I'm like, because this person needs life, right? I've just paid out, well, we're in the process of paying out a $75,000 critical illness claim to a lady who's in her 40s and just had a heart attack. And I'm like, was she stressed? No. Was she overweight? No. No. She was in good shape. She was in good health. And boom, she had a heart attack. So I'm like, am I motivated by money now? No, I'm not. I used to be very motivated by money, but now I'm motivated by impact. And that's why I love what you do, because you're helping people build these dream lives that is not all revolving around money. And I mean, is money important? Yes, money's a tool to help magnify your greatness, right? It gives you the opportunity to create this incredible life for yourself. However, my biggest goal is to build $10 million earners on my team. Because if I can teach 10 people how to make $1 million, I'm at $10 million a year. That's a pretty cool goal. That's a pretty cool legacy to think about. And I'm like, am I going to do it? Hopefully, like that's the goal. That's what we're aiming for. But also, I really like that tomorrow I'm taking the day off to spend it with my husband, because he works in Fort McMurray still, right? And he's only home for 4 full days at a time. And I'm like, sorry, honey, I got to work today. Right. And he's like, oh, that's no problem. I'm going to go get insurance on my motorcycle. And, he's got a list of things that he needs to do too. But I used to feel bad for trying to go to work. And now I'm like, no, if I don't go to work, these people aren't going to get helped. That insurance plan that just paid out isn't going to be in place because I didn't do the work, right?
Mhm.
But if I was selfish and was still 100% focused on money, I'd probably still be in that position I was in before because it was guaranteed instead of
Yep.
taking that chance on myself.
Yeah. Everybody's definition of success is different.
Exactly.
That's your definition of success. I actually met a guy who literally is backpacking across the United States.
I love
He
that.
he works odd jobs when he needs money. He works a more extended job. He'll like get on a job site, like he's got some construction skills, and he'll get on a job site for a little while. If he pays off like 6 months of his prepaid cell phone. So he'll work for like 2 weeks, earn a bunch of money, buy some train tickets and stuff to get around the things he wants to do. And then he's back to kind of living day to day, and he rakes people's leaves and earns a couple of bucks and go gets a nice dinner. And when I say that, people are like, well, do you want me to now be, basically a hobo? And I'm like, no, that's his definition of this. But he's the most successful person I know because he has said, this is what I want out of life. This is how I'm going to do it from a earnings perspective. And he's doing it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't sacrifice anything for it. People are like, well, he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have a family. I'm like, but that's not his priorities right now.
Yeah.
Now, 10 years from now, if that's on his radar of having a family and kids and whatever, and he's still living this bohemian lifestyle, then he missed the mark. But if he wants to do this for this chapter of his life and then change and do something different down the line, he needs to have the plan to do that too. So, it's what we define as success, overall success, because a lot of people will be like, well, money doesn't matter to me, or, prestige doesn't matter to me, or impact is important, or whatever. But the thing with it is that might be overall life. But if you need to pay off your credit card bill or you need to buy a new car, money might be all you're about right now. Sales might be all you're about in your business because you need to earn that money. And so we need to look at overall definitions of success in a 5-year chapter, success in a particular year, success in the season, maybe even success in this week, because I've got to rally and do that kind of stuff. And so that's where having the plan, constantly looking at what's the big direction I'm trying to head in, what's the destination I'm trying to get to overall in life, what's the direction I'm heading in right now, am I going west, what's the trajectory, because I just hit a bump in the road, I didn't expect the transmission to fall out of my car, so now I need extra money this week. I just talked to a colleague of mine who that happened, like he wasn't expecting the transmission on his truck to blow, and he kind of lives a similar with his family, nomadic lifestyle. And he's stuck in a campground right now because he doesn't have a truck to pull the camper. But that wasn't on his radar, but he's just changing his trajectory and the destination he wants to get to, both physically to the next place that they're going for. They do a lot of BMX racing and stuff. And so they're getting to another race, but also where he wants to go in life from a financial perspective. It has changed over the last 2 weeks because he needs to this major repair to his truck, Yeah,
it's so interesting how those little life moments happen. And then it's like, oh, recalculating is what we say. Okay, we're going to recalculate. We're going to redirect what things are doing. One of the things I love most about my business is just being able to help people navigate those things and go,
and
hey,
having the things in place, having those, insurance policies and savings and things that so that you can, when you hit those bumps in the road, you're able to do it. But that also takes planning, because it goes back to what I said. Everything is about freedom and fulfillment. When you need the two of them at different periods, and you also have to have contingency plans for when you do hit the bumps in the road too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to go back to talking about what people should do before they start a business. So I loved that you were talking about creating that plan for yourself and going into end game first. What are we trying to create? What does success look like to you? And then backpedal and go, okay, how do we make that happen? So if you were to advise someone who's just getting started in business, for example, what would that look like?
Don't think about the business. First step is plan your life. So my process, I work with people for a year, but the first 3 months, month one is just, what do you want your life to look like? What are the achievements? What are the experiences? What's important to you? What is those definitions of success? Don't think about the business first. Really understand what you want your life to look like. You talked about taking walks and yoga, and like tell that story, like map it out, and not just for today. Map it out 5 years from now, 10 years out, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years. What is it over the course of your life? Map all of that out. and then say, all right, now I know. And now I am able to look at it and go, what do I need for freedom and money during those times?
Mm.
Then once you have that, step two is, all right, now what's my business idea? So I want to be a pastry chef. I want to be this. I want to be that. Start really critically beating up on that business model, that business idea, and say, does it give me that life? Not, I think it will. Not if I earn enough money, I can have it. But literally, does it give me that life? Am I going to have the flexibility? Am I going to have to always work, or am I going to have employees? If I have employees, what headache does that cause? Like, really look at all of the different things. If this thing explodes and everybody wants it, am I going to let it explode, or am I going to keep it small? But critically look at the business. And then once you know what you want from your life and that the business actually is going to support that, then you can develop the action plan on how do I actually make this happen.
I love that. Yeah, I think that when you're going into a new business, everyone's like, I just want to be a millionaire. Or they're like completely different. But what I see is most people are chasing money. And that's why when you hopped off there for a second, I was like, why do people focus on just making money when they can focus on making money plus having that freedom, right? And you were talking about that earlier. And I think that's something that people are missing, because when they talk to someone like me, all they tell me is they want to be comfortable. And I'm like, what does that even mean to you?
Right.
But they haven't mapped that out.
Right, because everybody says to be comfortable, you need to win the lottery. A
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago, the $1 billion lottery ticket, right? The one guy won it in New Jersey, right? And everybody's like, he's set for life. But is he? Like,
right? Do you know how many bankrupt people there are who won the lottery?
Right, exactly. But the thing with it is that if I have unlimited amount of money, everything will fall into place. But no, because you have to have that plan for the life. And then, like I said earlier, you need $1 more than all the money you're going to need to do the things you want in life, whether that be all the experiences you want to have, the places you want to live, the toys you want to have, the impact you want to make in charitable giving, the time you want to be able to give, the money you want to give to your kids to give them a leg up, all of those things, you need $1 more than that. But until you know all those things you want, you don't know what you're working towards. And if you don't know the destination, how do you build something that gives you, how do you know what direction? If I say to you, you're going away, go buy a plane ticket. Where do I buy a plane ticket to?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going west? Am I going east? Am I going north? Am I going south? I don't know. I don't know what direction to even start going in if I don't know what my destination is. If I then say to you, you're going from where I live in Rhode Island to California, you at least know a direction. You got to go west. But even that, am I doing this northern route? Am I going up through Canada? Am I going down through Mexico? Like, am I taking 6 weeks to do it? Am I like, so now you start developing that map, that direction of this is what I'm trying to do. And then you hit the bumps in the road. So you need to understand your trajectory. Oh, well, I thought I was going to go up through Canada, but there's bridges that are broke, or I was going through where the bridge just collapsed. I need to go different now. Like, I can't go there anymore. So you start seeing those problems and you start making, but you still have that destination you're trying to get to. You still have the direction you have to go. I have to sort of go west, but I might need to go a little bit more north before I go west.
Yeah.
And that's where having that destination is important. But a lot of people's destinations are what I call someday. Someday I will. Once in the lottery, someday I will.
That's one of the things I talk about in my goal setting session, is putting a date on it. Like, even if you don't know the exact day it's going to be, if you have a target, you're more likely to achieve it.
Put it on the calendar. Because if you keep saying someday, it's a mirage. It's that thing that's off in the distance, and I might make it there someday.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
I sit down with people all the time and I ask them what their retirement goals are, and they just go, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. Yeah. And I'm like, by choice or not by choice? And most of them say not by choice. They just don't think it's possible for them to ever retire. And I'm like, that's sad.
That's sad. Yeah. And I think is that why are we waiting for retirement to go to Alaska?
Yeah.
Like, why can't you go to Alaska tomorrow? Well, I don't have enough money. All right. Well, how do we get you more money then?
Right.
Like, if you know what you want and you say, I want to do it by this date, you then can start working towards it. And you might miss it. And that's why I don't like the word goal. Because goal to me is reminiscent of hockey or soccer, or if you don't score enough goals, by the time the buzzer goes off, you lose, right? So if we don't do it by, I set goals for 2024, and if I don't do it by December, then I lose. But I always say they're objectives, because objectives, you still want to do it. So even if it takes a little bit longer, or even if it doesn't work out quite the way you wanted, it's still something you want.
Mhm.
And so when you have that objective and you have that destination, when you say, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to do, you can start taking the actions every day to get you there. You know, if you're going left or right out of your driveway, if you know what destination you're trying to go to.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and even for myself this year, I was like, I had very different goals for this year. I was not going to work as much. I was going to be a mom.
Yep.
Redirect, right? That didn't happen for me yet. Okay, well, what did I do? I did my intention list. I said, what can I intentionally do? Or what can I put out into the universe and just go, okay, my intention is to do good for myself. My intention is to take care of my body. My intention is to be healthier and happier and get time with my family and those kind of things. So instead of me going, okay, what are my goals for this year? And I literally just like shut down because I was still really processing my grief. I literally had to just sit there because I was reading The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I was like, what can I do to put something on paper that I can aim for? And so I did my intention list. And I think that really helped me have a little breakthrough in my own life going, give yourself credit, like Ed Milet says, give yourself credit for your intentions.
Yep. And I totally believe in all that, intentions or the universe, God, you know, everybody have their own version of what setting intentions are, right? But, you know, also the other big piece of that is by putting that on paper, you have some clarity.
Yeah.
And the biggest, clearest, whether you're praying, whether you're setting intentions, whether you're putting it out to the universe, however you want to put it, you're gaining that clarity of this is what I want. And you're also sort of putting it on the calendar to what we were talking about earlier. You're saying, I want this in this period of time.
Yeah.
I want my life to change. And then whether it's divine intervention or whether it's you just kicking your own butt, you start going, well, what do I need to do this morning to start getting there? Because I've got that intention that's sitting there on that list.
Drinking a gallon of water.
I'm going to do the 75 hard. I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to whatever it is. You know, I'm going to work harder on my business. I'm going to, yeah. But we start when we have those intentions out there and we have the clarity and we know what that direction is. Now we can start making a commitment to it. You know, we can start saying, all right, I'm going to make a commitment and I'm going to hold myself accountable because I've got the clarity. I know what I need. I can make a commitment to it and then I can hold myself accountable. Or if you're not able to hold yourself accountable, that's when you start working with people like you in the financial planning world, with people with me in the coaching world is, okay, I need somebody to guide me to do this.
Yeah. And hold you accountable is, like you were saying, so important. For myself, that's huge. I need people to hold me accountable. When I'm on a program, easy. Like I was talking to my sister-in-law yesterday. I was like, I have no problem doing 75 hard. I actually don't find it that challenging. Does my body hurt? Yes. But do I ever for a second think I'm not going to finish it? No. I know that if I commit to doing something, I'm going to finish it because I'm a winner and I have a winner mentality. And if I fail, well, I'm just going to start over again. Right. And it's so different when you're going into those with confidence, but I need that accountability piece. I need to put it on social media. My very first time doing 75 hard, I posted my progress pictures every day on my social media. Bra and underwear. Like, here's what my body looks like. Here's what it's like now. And it was mind-boggling. The people who reached out to me who were like, Alaina, I just lost 50 pounds because I've been watching your progress. And it's like, wow, you don't even know sometimes who's watching, but you're helping motivate other people into changing their own lives and giving them some inspiration. And it's so powerful just to be able to put yourself out there and be like, hey, my intention was to help myself get healthy. But the result of that was other people are getting healthy too. And I love that. Again, that goes to check the box of contribution for me.
That's
So
it.
I
Yep.
really loved it. I was like, yeah, just like cheering them on too, right?
Yeah, I mean, if impact is important to you, then make sure that impact is part of your business, part of your life.
Mhm.
And impact can be in different ways. I have one client who wants to go build houses in third world countries, like it's a Habitat for Humanity's like thing. They go down, they into the islands, into Africa and into South America and Central America, and they build houses alongside people and whatever. I have another client who is a mission. They do, religious missionary work in different countries. And I have another one that's like, I don't want to do any of that. I want to make enough money and write a check so that those people can do that.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. It's just a different version of it. And that's the thing. We can't judge ourselves or each other based on other people's expectations. Our definition of what we want our dream life to look like, we want our experiences like is very personal, but we've been caught up in this world where, and it's Madison Avenue. It's the marketing world they used to come from. It's, telling you that you need this car, this makeup, this perfume, this soft drink to have your life be better. But in the end, it's all personal what you want your life to be. And you get to define that. And then once you define that, you can then do the things that are going to give you that life, and that's where entrepreneurship comes in because you're able to dictate how it works. You get to dictate the hours you work. You get to dictate the amount of money you make. You get to dictate all of that stuff. If you have a plan to make sure that it's all going to fall into place and work that way.
Yeah. There's a book that my friend gave me. It's called Redefining Success by Brett Wilson, I think is his name. And he blew me out of the water with that book because I was chasing money. And then I read that book and was like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you get stage 4 cancer and you didn't live your life, you're going to wish that you did things differently. And
Yeah.
it's
The one
just,
that did that for me was To Die with Zero. Have you ever read To Die with Zero?
no, I'm going to write that down.
I don't remember who the author is, but great book. But in it, he talks about how I paraphrase him in my talking now because I've read it and talk about it so much. But it's that idea of you need $1 more. He said zero, but you need $1 more than, but his whole thing is that it's all about experiences. You need money gets you experiences because if you trade your time and energy for something more than the experiences you want to have, you can't take it to the grave. So what's the purpose of it? And he talks about, he's like, some people are like, well, for the end of my life, he's like, well, there's insurance for that, first of all. And if you didn't do that, you're stupid. But he said, long-term care and, but he said, even if you didn't, and you have this pool of money, and he talks about this birthday party he threw and he spent like $50,000 for this birthday. It was in the islands. He had Sheryl Crow or somebody sang at it. Like he did this like with all his friends and he did it like his 48th birthday because he wasn't sure his mother was going to live to his 50th and he wanted her there. But he said, I'd rather die 4 days earlier than to spend that $50,000 a day to live 4 days longer and not have all the memories that everybody has of that party.
Yeah.
In the end, he's like, if you got stage 4 cancer and you're on life support, it's 10 grand a day.
Right.
He's like, that's 4 or 5 days for that party. And he's like, but while I'm dying, everybody's going to remember all the fun we had and all the memories we had, and there's that study with the nurse that most people, she did a study, I think it was in Australia. She did a study of deathbed regrets. And the number one was I lived somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And the number two was I worked too much.
I believe that. I think it's really important to set those intentions or those objectives for yourself just to go, hey, this is what I'm aiming for. This is what is going to give me happiness. And it's going to help me feel like I have completed everything in my life if I was to die tomorrow. Right. And I don't know, there's just so many more lessons we could go into, but we are out of time for today, unfortunately. So I want people to make sure that they can get access to you. And maybe you can talk about your social media a little bit, and then we got to call it for the day.
All right. So the best way to find me is because it has to have the in front of it, because there are other dream catapults out there, but the dream catapult, and it's thedreamcatapult.com, the dream catapult on Instagram, the dream catapult on Facebook. Most of the major socials, I'm there. I'm actually on Threads. If you want some interesting look into how I think, that is kind of my daily-ish notebook, or if I have an idea that isn't ready for a big post or whatever, I throw out on Threads, because not a lot of people read it, but it's a good place to put it out there in the universe and let it ruminate for a while. So the Dream Catapult, pretty much everywhere you can find me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. That was a really powerful conversation. I think that when people are looking at what success means to them, they need to look at it in a context of this is what we're trying to create versus this is what's going to make me the most money, right? So, yeah, I really love that we got the opportunity to talk. Guys, if you got value out of today's show, which I know you did, make sure that you share it. We are 100% holistically grown. And I thank you to my loyal listeners for sharing my content. And I know that you're going to get a lot of value out of Dave's content too. So thanks again for being on. And until next time, that's Pursuit of Relentless signing out.